Okay, Scott, before we go inside, I want you to think about something. Should we give amnesty in exchange for disclosure?
Christian, I'm so glad you asked.
You are now entering the realm of the freaky deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality, about time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically.
Now we're inside. We're inside the episode. Christian was late again today.
I was late today because it's the same as last week's day.
No. Okay, maybe a little bit. I just wanted to say that again because it'd be hilarious if we record like 4 episodes and every episode I'm like, fucking Christian was late today. Can you believe it? Then people would just be like, oh my God, he's late all the time. What's with this guy?
I haven't been late in a long time, though.
That's true. Yeah, you've been on your A game.
Yeah.
And this morning you slid into your C- game.
I did.
And we need to get you back, man. We need to get you back, especially if we're going to start recording videos next week again. That's we got to get you back in your prime.
Like in Little League, I slid and ended up with a torn up knee.
Wow. That is a story that nobody requested, but I'm glad you brought it.
Every game, I used to love to slide.
Yeah, and if you love to slide, welcome back to the Freaky D. First of all, slide into our DMs with your own personal paranormal accounts, or send an email to the gang at the Freaky Deaky. If you're new to the show, welcome. My name is Scott, and I'm joined, as always, by America's favorite beloved wet blanket, my father-in-law, Christian. Hello, Christian.
Hello. If you wet it with warm water, it's not so bad.
Great information. Anyway, find us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you're on that stupid new one, Threads, then find us there too. Or you can find us on TikTok at TFD Paranormal, where we are going to be sharing more short videos for you guys in the near future. We just keep getting behind a little bit on the episode, so we're trying to create a little bit that we can have some leeway and focus on video content for a while. Get you guys and that YouTube channel just popping off like it's your bar mitzvah. You know what I mean? We're going to get bar mitzvah popping.
I've never been to a bar mitzvah.
Neither have I, but I believe it's popping. I believe this to be true.
I would go to one.
I believe you're 13 years old and you receive like $500,000 or some shit. That's just in my head. That's what it's always been as a kid. I'm like, wait, they turn 13 and then they get a lot of money from people? And I look at my parents like, wow, you guys are really dropping the ball here, okay?
But here's the thing. If you actually did that, that actually sets up a 13-year-old pretty well.
Yeah.
Like sets them up for success. You teach them all the other things that go with that. I mean, they're not going to be able to spend that money.
Yeah.
But you start off at 13, maybe your parents are investing it. By the time you get to college and out of college,
then it's worthless. They have invested it into very shady companies and you're back at ground.
He's
ground
13,
zero.
so he's probably like, let's do these meme coins.
Yeah. Hey, Hasbro's about to shoot up, guys. No. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. Christian, I believe that's all. Did I cover all the housekeeping?
I think so.
I'm just going to toss this in there nice and gentle. Rate and review the show, folks. If you give us a 5-star, that truly does mean the world to us. I will send Christian screenshots left and right of us moving up these charts. And by charts, I mean ratings. We're so close to getting 100 reviews on Spotify. And if you could just, if you're listening and you haven't done it and you have a few seconds free, just tap that little review icon, give it a 5-star and say to yourself, you know what? I did a good thing today.
And if you're listening on or watching on YouTube, hit that like button.
And that subscribe button. And you can also think to yourself, I did a good thing today. Because you're a good person. Unless you're hitting the 1-star, in which case, why are you here? You know what? We're not going to get into it. Christian, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about disclosure. But first, I want to throw in a quick little update on a video that's probably now deleted that I posted.
It's never deleted.
Probably about a month ago.
It's not deleted because it did much better than most of the videos we post. So it's staying up.
Okay.
That's just the social media manager in me.
That makes sense. But this video was about that woman on a plane that everybody said saw a reptilian and kind of freaked out and left the plane. Now, this wasn't like your normal freak out you hear about on the news where somebody's punching somebody or something. She just got really upset and just got off the plane. I think that's fair.
That is fair.
If you're going to get upset,
get off the plane.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the air. Walk right off the plane.
This one I think was before.
Fall to your death right off the plane. Walk out the door.
I kind of felt bad after putting that up because what if it was just like some other issue?
The story has come out from other people on that plane saying that she showed up on the plane visibly drunk and was accusing the guy next to her of stealing her AirPods and shit like that. And then that's when she got all irate and started yelling and all that shit. And whether or not that's true, who knows? But one thing I can say is if you're out there and you've seen one of the 100,000 videos that are floating around saying that she's doing the Baphomet sign with her fingers and that she's in a pose that only...
Oh my gosh, that's how...
That's honestly, and it took all of 30 seconds for someone to watch the video, not look into it at all and be like, oh my gosh, she's using two fingers. Nobody uses two fingers when they point. Yeah, actually, plenty of people do. Okay, I don't want to pop the paranormal balloon so quickly, but plenty of people do that. It's not a strange thing. She was not hailing Baphomet. This was not some kind of weird distraction. And if you are truly a fan of the paranormal and conspiracies and all that stuff, do the entire sector a favor and just look into stuff before you start posting around.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I found two posts since then that are kind of related to where it took off. One is the number of people who seemingly believe it is possible that the crazy plane lady, in quotes, actually saw a shape-shifting reptilian is both disturbing and fascinating. Tim McMillan, retired law enforcement professional, writer and co-founder of the Debrief Media, LLC.
The Debrief, but yeah.
That's one of them. The other one is a passenger of this viral video is stating that this female believes she was sitting next to some sort of reptilian. Oh, that's the wrong one.
Wow.
Where is...
This is what it talks about with the C- game, Christian.
Well, I saved it because I thought there was a really good one. Oh, here it is. I scrolled by it because it's a video. Typical Hollywood psyop, part 2. I mean, I'm like, that's just, like you said, more than likely a drunk lady. And it was kind of funny for somebody to say reptilian. I would make that kind of joke, you know, because she never said reptilian. We've all sat next to people who freaked us the hell out.
Yeah. And the stories that I've heard from people on that flight, like there's actually, and I watched the video, there's actually a guy, a TikToker that's like taking advantage of this and being like, I was a few rows behind her. And the guy she was talking about, he looked around and he didn't say anything to anyone. But when he looked at me, he winked. But when he winked, it didn't blink like a normal person. It went left to right, closing in. And those type of people, let me tell you, number one, not credible at all. And number two, they're looking for TikTok clout. And your likes and your comments just gave it to them. So again, like this industry is never actually going to blossom if people just hear something and immediately jump on whatever echo chamber is the most, get it out in front of people. Like I see so many podcasts that we are even like friends with and shit that like will start posting shit just to like sensationalize things. And that's one thing that we've both agreed on from the start of this is we want to come with information that is, if not factual, pretty close to factual, you know, like even if it's just opinions or whatever. Like one thing we don't want to do with this podcast is just sensationalize shit. And I don't think we've done that.
There's got to be something behind it, I feel like, if we're going to, you know, not some crazy video that's obviously been doctored, which you see a lot now. And I understand it. I mean, that stuff's fun to watch on the different social medias. Sometimes, like in this case, somebody drunk, more than likely, had a bad experience on a plane. I don't know why it happens so much on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, in this day and age, especially, you would think people would be better flyers.
The thing that irks me the most is when, you know, these over the top paranormal, like religious podcasts or whatever come out claiming that it's, oh, this is not only a psyop, but they're doing like Baphomet signals and shit. Like you're grasping at straws. And not only that, you're actually leading believers away from what is most likely the truth. So I'm not saying with certainty, but I've seen there's one podcast in particular that is close friends with like one of our buddy podcasts and constantly posting just clickbaity, over sensationalized shit and doing it in like the name of God and shit, pretty much being like, I have the answers and you're just wrong. Like plain and simple, you're just wrong.
Here's what I'll say in a lot of cases. I don't think a lot of, especially when it comes from a religious, I guess, place, is always about, they don't really feel like they're sensationalizing something. They're showing us.
They're shining the light, yeah.
On the devil or Satan in our society is what I kind of take it. So it's not like, they're not bad people. I mean, in that viewpoint and in certain aspects of the Christian religion, that is very important to shine that light and warn us about satanic forces. But sometimes it becomes overzealous and you become part of the problem.
Oh, yeah. And
So-
it's very prevalent.
And the persecution sometimes is just as bad as what you're saying is going on.
True.
You know, like the witch trials back in the day.
Oh, wow. You would bring that up.
I mean,
We
it's,
have no evidence of that. Not to sensationalize things, but I believe them bitches were witches. No, I'm just kidding. I think witchcraft was afoot. Surely it was the 1600s or whatever. What else are you going to do?
and by those bitches, you also mean the guys that were accused of it too.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So this,
Witch on witch violence.
yeah, don't come at us with, he used that word. He meant everybody that was accused.
That's right.
And it was a joke.
Yeah. And also, I call most men in my life bitch. It's a term of endearment, if anything. Like, what's up, bitch?
You know, if you do
No.
that when you play hockey, it really upsets people.
It does. Yeah. There's such a stigma attached to the word that they're like, oh, I can't believe you'd utter that.
I did a lot.
I still do. I mean,
I don't.
it's a hilarious word. It is.
In real life, I mean, you hear
Well,
them
yeah. Who's going to go around weird life? Hey, what's up, bitch?
but
Like, you get your ass handed to you.
when you compare the two of us on the podcast, who have you heard cussing most?
I think I speak on behalf of our entire listenership when I say, Christian, you got to reel it in, man. All right. You're swearing way too much. And actually, I did think about that. I think about that so often. I'll just be like alone and it'll be like quiet. I'll be like, do I swear too much on the podcast? Like, our future advertiser is going to appreciate this. And I say, you know what? Probably not, but it's fine.
You know what? We'll stop cussing for the advertisers.
Yeah, we will do pretty much anything for $100 at this point in our lives. And
No, we won't. No, we won't.
should we get into the episode? I feel
Yes.
like we've been talking about nonsense.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of a weird episode, but it was inspired
By the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks.
No, not the movie. Just Wilson.
Oh, just Wilson.
The best part of that movie.
Hmm.
Anyway, the casual blue dot on Reddit posted, would you accept public disclosure on the condition of those involved receive absolute amnesty?
As in, like, we wouldn't light them on fire for keeping this
No,
from
we
us,
wouldn't
or-
prosecute them
Oh, yeah.
because in order to keep this stuff secret, some laws were probably broken.
I'm sure they were, yeah.
Yeah. So in order to foster disclosure,
hmm
would we give amnesty to everybody that has held these secrets in the dark all these years?
Oh, are you asking me, or is that?
Well, I'm asking you and everybody out there listening.
Yes.
Just something to think. Would you do it?
Chime in, folks. You know the
Yeah.
drill.
What would you do, Scott?
I'd probably say yes. And then once the information was released, if I was satisfied with that, I would hire a series of hitmen to take them out
That's
one
not,
by one
That's not very Christian of you.
in the heat and quiet of night.
This is not Grand Theft Auto.
They will, yeah, I'm just going to knock on their windows and throw their stripper out the car and shoot them in the head. I think this might be too early in the episode to have such graphic talk. So here's a clip from Miss Rachel. no, that'd be hilarious. But no, we're not going to do that. It's fine. Personally,
No, he's going to put a Scott.
I can't. I'll get copyright. I'm sorry.
All you have to do is put one word. Something crazy. Just one word. Scott, find one word that's kind of hilarious and out of context from Miss Rachel.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, as you in the past, maybe, but if it seems like too much work, then say fuck that shit and bail. And also stop cussing so much. Why are you doing that?
I'll fucking send it to you, Scott.
See, he
motherfucker.
does cuss more than me. Anyway, yes, I would grant them amnesty, but I would judge the hell out of them. And I think we all would. We wouldn't persecute them, but their social media pages would be deleted immediately because they would just get bombarded left and right.
See, it wouldn't bother me at all. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do that to him because I'm like, well, technically they're doing it for national security. Theoretically,
Man.
we'll get into the arguments as I think this is going to be more of like a discussion, but I'm going to have some interesting tidbits in there from people online that chimed in on this.
Yeah, took away all credibility of this with using the term tidbits to describe the information.
Dude, you use those weird words way more than you.
Yeah, but I do it in jest. All right. I do it as a funny ha homage to my sense of humor. You do it in all seriousness. In all seriousness, we should begin.
We can totally tell when the kicks in on you. It's very obvious.
People are like, some days Scott seems like he's actually in a decent mood. Those times will change.
Anyway,
Yes.
he also says It seems that if the we're going back to the casual blue dot. It seems that if the government is in fact reverse engineering NHI, do you know what that means?
NHI?
I meant to look that up.
Non-human.
Damn it, Christian.
Nice little soundbite.
We're going to skip. So,
non-human intelligence, maybe? Boom.
It seems that if the government is in fact reverse engineering non-human intelligence, NHI, technology, a big hurdle in public disclosure are the alleged crimes committed by those who have kept the secret. If the government offered complete disclosure in exchange for sweeping pardons to all those involved, would you be for or against it? If it was the only way to get public disclosure, or do you believe that the price for disclosure would be too high to pay? So I'm going to go with a couple comments. And we
do that.
Jump in anywhere you want. Kona Voice says...
I'm jumping in right here. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to test it out, make sure I really did have free reign to jump in wherever.
I got bad news for you. The water is really warm right here.
Weird.
Go over there. It's a little normal.
Wow. Christian is admitting to peeing in the pool. If you were wondering what that meant.
Well, I'm in a lake.
Peeing in the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit better.
It's much better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fish do it.
Well, yeah, that's how more fish are made, Christian, obviously.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Kona Voice says, unfortunately, yes, I believe the truth is more important than payback. That's kind of what I believe. And then Noble AT says, to me, the challenge is creating legal precedent. Of course, somebody has to come in here with lawyer talk. Let's say someone in the UAP recovery program committed war crimes against the alien. You
could just say aliens. And
I'm getting traumatized.
I know. We just dropped this. I see you're visibly sweating. Yeah.
You did this to me.
I did.
Against the aliens or killed somebody without legal approval. This could be used in the future to justify heinous acts.
I'm sorry, what acts?
Axed.
What acts?
Acts.
No, what kind of acts?
Heinous.
Okay. Oh, Scott, are you 8 years old? Yeah, I sure am.
Dude,
okay.
How are you 8 years old? You were sheltered. You've told me about your life. You were in church. You were a good boy at 8. You just had to be 12.
No.
Anyway, could be used in the future to justify heinous acts. If whatever the problem was justifiable in some way. If someone did something like that, they should not be given absolute immunity. Hell, if someone were clever enough, they could tie unrelated crimes to this just to get away with them. We can't allow the blanket immunity, especially wet blanket immunity. But I think we should allow it up until a certain point by adding a condition. Any condition, the legal argument changes for future jurisdiction, which kind of makes sense because...
To an extent, but if you do something like that, then people can easily find loopholes on that, and you're right back to the start pretty much.
Well, here's what would happen. I'll use something I was watching documentaries on lately. All of a sudden, the CIA goes, the reason we did what we did in Nicaragua with the arms for hostages, because we were looking into recovering some alien vehicles that had crashed in Nicaragua. So all that stuff we did over there that got a lot of people killed.
It's fine.
Yeah, we're immune.
It's cool, guys. Don't worry about it. That's the past. We live in the present here. Okay.
Yeah. But just the theory of that, giving immunity for that, I mean, would the majority of people be okay with that, do you think? I mean,
I personally think that the majority of people look for any reason that they can get their grimy little hands on to fight about shit. So I feel like that's probably the direction it would go. You know, unfortunately, that this is the human race and that's what happens.
True. There's another one. In legal theory, yes. In practice, we probably wouldn't be where we are if Ford didn't pardon Nixon, which reaches we make. On the other hand, if claims are true, I'm not 100% sure that I think the people in the know were acting with malcontent, especially during the Cold War years. And the person's Smo60. I say this.
Very credible source.
Yeah, I say
60.
this is a very left-leaning human. So that's not us saying it. That's Smo.
Yeah, if you want to get on someone's case, it's Schmo. You want Schmo?
It's all about Schmo. Robo Perry Como. Sometimes some of these names are impressive. At the heart of this, I believe we're going to find a lot of people in far over their heads trying to do in an impossible situation. I will reserve my judgment until it's all out there, I guess. Which, in my opinion, I don't know if it'll ever all be out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have actually just given up on the idea of it ever fully coming out. Like everyone, that's the downside of everyone having their own opinions on this stuff, is they all follow their own quote unquote truths. And then nobody actually knows the real answer. So the waters just get so muddied that it's next to impossible to even like claw your way back to a possible scenario.
Yeah. And I also see like, it could possibly destroy our economy depending on if we've recovered stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because sure, to be cool, it'd be like, oh, we got these aliens' bodies. We're finally going to tell you about them.
They're just like parading down the street with alien bodies. Yeah. Like, isn't this cool, guys? Yeah. Look at this alien we caught.
We made this specially refrigerated thing so you could see into it, but
I think that's just called a refrigerator, Christian.
But it's a special.
It's not, there's nothing special, but it just keeps them cold.
They're going to make it special.
They're going to make it look cool.
Yeah, because they want it to all be glass so you can see all of his body parts. Because that's
all of his body parts.
I mean,
very nice.
You know, they're going to overdo it if they would do something like that.
Yeah,
they'll have a loincloth in the right spot, but
weird
whether there's something there or not. Which, according to some reports, there's not anything really there.
Then there's going to be protesters outside. Remove the loincloth. What are you hiding? We're hiding his alien penis. Can we move on, please?
Yes.
Anyway, I've said enough weird buzzwords for...
Yes, you did. The biggest problem is going to be, again, if we've recovered technology, let's say some kind of metal or something that is very impressive, very advanced,
yes,
that we use in our military and we've been using for a while. It would make our like 737s, 747s much lighter, much more fuel efficient and safer. Yet we haven't been using them.
Yeah.
Or we haven't released this into a space where modern aircraft manufacturers could use them to make life safer.
Yeah.
To use less fuel, less energy, which is good for everybody, and bring the cost down.
Well, maybe they don't want it in the private sector.
Why do they not want it in the private sector? They make more money using it in the military industrial complex.
To an extent, but also no, because you'd have companies that would like start using this material to make fucking drinking straws and shit. So like literally we'd probably just mine it out of existence, whatever it is, if it is mineable at all.
What if it's just
space dust?
Well, what if we figured out how to manufacture this, let's say titanium? Because I'd heard many years ago that the titanium bat I used when in Pony League Baseball was a technology that came about from recovered UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, you got a lot of baseball references from your youth in this episode.
Baseball was my life when I was a kid. Now it's hockey, but when I was a kid growing up, everything was baseball.
That's true. Yeah, I was there.
So when your son starts throwing things, there's a part of me that takes pride in that. I'm like, ooh, that was a good throw.
But my question to you is, did they actually have titanium bats in the 1930s? Was that?
I don't know. I wasn't there, man.
Oh.
We've gone over this. I know you have trouble with math.
I truly do. Wow, look at us. Here we are.
This was in the 80s. So, my dad worked for an aircraft company.
Yeah.
And interestingly, your dad at one point worked for the same aircraft company.
Yeah, he bounced back and forth between Lockheed and what was the other one? Northrop? Yeah.
Yeah. So some of that stuff is supposedly or has supposedly been used by those companies for years. Like I said, they could put it in other regular passenger airplanes, cargo airplanes.
Yeah.
Who knows where else they could use it in, the real world, but they don't use it.
That's true.
That could cause a lot of problems. And if all of a sudden that technology is released into the world, it could totally destroy certain, like the energy industry, oil.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the main flags that a lot of people kind of hold on to, is that they don't want to replace this stuff because it makes them so much money.
Maybe they would find a way to let this stuff make them more money, but the good old boys in the oil industry would hurt. And they don't want to do that to them because of whatever political, money, power reasons. I mean, us little people don't really matter when it comes to things like that. They're going to take care
even
of
us normal sized people don't really care about that either. But I guess my thing is, have you ever heard of a company that gives up a monopoly on something, like willingly? even though this, let's say Northrop or Lockheed or anything could use this material for their own products, if they released it, the world would still know that it existed at that point, and then they'd have a monopoly on it, which is quote unquote illegal, and it'd have to be distributed to the common folk. So that's why they keep it locked up, because obviously they don't want anyone to get their hands on it, if that is the case.
But if the government is giving some of this stuff out to different scientists and designers and engineers, they're giving it to all these different companies. So they're already spreading it out to see what these companies can do.
Slapped with NDAs, I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of problems, and maybe it's not an excuse. This stuff shouldn't have been covered up like it was. I mean, I'm always one that says the Cold War makes a lot of our grandfathers and fathers do weird things to protect the country.
Makes them cold.
Yeah, exactly. We like warm wars. Hot wars are better because you can get a suntan on your days off, but
there you go.
Go to the beach. But it's going to create a lot of problems. It's not just a simple, like, let us tell you the truth finally. First off, we're not going to believe it because we don't believe anything the government says anymore. And then you take out the oil industry and all of a sudden the economies go down. I mean, we already saw what like COVID and people not driving did.
Christian, are you trying to get this episode demonetized?
You can bleep that out.
Because it's not monetized.
Well, anyway, you can see what happened the last 3 or 4 years, 3 years, because people stopped driving there for 6 months, maybe, you know, and it changed the economy. It's crazy how our economy is based on those simple things that maybe disclosure could screw it up.
Maybe. I feel like that's kind of also a stretch, though.
I believe
that, yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't quite have that much of an effect to tell the truth, but...
The thing is, when you tell the truth, one of the things that comes with that is accepting the consequences. That's part of telling the truth. That's part of getting things off your chest, is accepting that even though this may cause a disturbance for a short while, the overarching theme is that it is for the betterment of everyone involved.
Right. But consequences are something you and I and our listeners deal with. Consequences aren't something that these people running these companies and the government deal with.
Yeah, the word consequences is like a unicorn to these folks. They're like, what's that? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, we're too rich for consequences.
Here's $100. Go blow your nose into it, you peon.
So, quick little comment from ProfessorBeer. And I use a lot of these comments on here just kind of show
a different perspective.
Yeah, what everybody's thinking. And it was kind of fascinating to think of it that way. Like, what are the problems with disclosure?
Yeah, and there's no better scholar to turn to in these trying times than our good friend Professor Beer.
I mean, sounds trustworthy.
Yes. Can I offer you an egg in these trying times?
Sometimes you wake up the next morning and realize Professor Beer was not as trustworthy as we thought.
Yeah, as Dean Vodka would have been.
Oh, yeah, Dean Vodka is the best. This is the thing I can't shake. Even if I 100% disagree with what someone in the know decided to do, they are in completely uncharted waters. First contact is far from the only existentially terrifying moment, assuming this all ends up being credible, according to everything we've been hearing in the news, actually, lately. First contact happened long ago.
Yeah, and now we're going to start believing the news? I don't think so.
You know what, like when it became kind of mainstream recently, I'm like, okay, what's really going on? What are we being distracted from? That's my skeptical viewpoint, cynical in a way.
Cynical indeed, but also, hey, high five, because you're finally on board with most of our listeners.
I've always thought that distractions were...
You just never wanted to call them a false flag?
Because I think most of the things that people call false flags are nothing. But there are false distractions.
Flags. Yeah.
And sometimes they're not false flags because the government just like, look at this thing everybody's paying attention to. Let's lean into that a little bit.
Isn't that shiny?
Yeah. Let's forget that there's the potential of World War III for a little bit and talk about
the sale going on at JCPenney's. Holy shit.
There's no JCPenney's anymore, is there? That's how bad it is. Like this company that was like a staple, JCPenney's and Sears of my parents' generation aren't there anymore. I mean, there are a few of them, but it's not like...
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe they got bought out or sold off or whatever, but...
They just closed up a lot of their stores and stuff, but back in... That was everything to the...
Yeah, and with inflation, they couldn't, upgrade it to JC Dime or JC Dollars.
Penny was...
So they're like, we're never going to make it. It's all J.C. Penney's in here.
What's the name of the Monopoly guy?
H.R. Huff and Stuff.
No, that's H.R. Puff and Stuff. And that's a television
Maybe
show.
Maybe to you it is. Okay.
That's a television show from the 70s that was classic and disturbing.
H.R. Huff and Stuff sounds like he was like really into glue or something.
Yeah. I get it now.
Anyway, paint cans. Stay away from them.
Don't sniff any of that stuff.
Don't do that. I have a lot of weird knowledge on stupid shit to do when actually never doing any of the stupid shit. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. I always feel like the cheaper the high, the quicker you die. Ooh, I just made that up.
Wow. And everyone got chills all through their body. Good work. Somebody get D.A.R.E on the line. All right. Christian's got a new slogan.
No, please don't. None of those companies can use my slogan.
Wow.
I am against...
Speaking of monopolies,
I'm against those organizations and their fake and damaging war on drugs. Moving on.
The Monopoly man was something Pennybags, I believe.
Yeah, so he's related to Mr. J.C. Penney. See,
J.C. Pennybags?
Yeah, all the rich people, reptilians.
Wow.
And I don't know if we'll have enough time for this, but I added a reptilian story in here.
Isn't that amazing?
If we don't use it, it'll be on a future episode.
Okay.
It's not a reptilian story. It's in the media.
Oh, it's really weird that you'd call it a reptilian story when it's not one. But that's, that's fine.
It's not really. It's from an article that was written in a newspaper.
Hey, Christian, I'm messing with you. It's okay.
I know. I'm distracted by the government.
Wait, I have something for that.
I think the government. It's always the government, man.
Yeah, well, that and also...
The beans might come.
Can I offer you a can of beans in these trying times?
Yes. Bushes. Baked beans.
Okay, let's roll that beautiful alien disclosure footage.
Is there a button for that?
No, but wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Tyranno Snorlax.
Rex. Oh.
Tyranno Snorlax. The question is, how do you get the parties involved to even come forward if they are in possession of technology that makes our militaries obsolete? What incentive do they have to disclose when they could literally rule civilization like they currently do now? The last part was mine. That, unfortunately, is a dilemma that I can actually foresee if reverse engineering programs have been successful. In fact, if this all is another disinfo campaign, I could see this being a potential reason. Perhaps they've hit a breakthrough with NHI technology and are nearly at the point where they just don't care who knows because they'll never relinquish the power, nor could they even be forced to under any circumstances. Of course, this is all just fantasy for now. It's strangely something to think about.
It's something to think about.
Yes, totally something to think about if Grush is telling the truth. I mean, Grush coming out and saying the stuff he has opened a whole new can of worms.
Sure, but the old one wasn't even closed. Like every time they start to put the lid on something, like you can every 5 to 10 years, you can have a pretty big whistleblower come out talking about this shit with a lot of credentials behind them. And then they just finally start people like to stop talking about it. And then another one pops up.
Yeah, and nothing ever is put out there. Nothing new.
That's very true.
The stuff he's talked about, we've been hearing about for years.
Yeah.
It's just somebody with credentials or former credentials or credentials.
Former or otherwise. Like, I think it speaks enough.
Does it though?
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't. I still need some evidence.
You need someone that is actually in the field currently.
No, I need actual proof that the government went out and recovered some of this stuff.
Well, you think they got like camcorders and shit on them when they're doing all this?
According to the stories, there were always photographers.
Then that's fine. Then post some photos, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's all I want. I want the government to say, this is what we have. This is what we found. This is what we made from it.
Do you think that maybe the AI agenda is being pushed so heavily right now because it makes it harder to tell if something is actually valid or created? And so if some of this information were to get leaked, photos were to get leaked, it's easy enough to say, oh, this was just generated by AI or this was doctored with Photoshop. You know, you never fully get to the actual truth of the matter because there's so much mud in these damn waters. Look at these muddy waters. Just look at them. All right. Just take a quick gander around you. Look at all that mud in the water, folks.
Do you know there's a musician named Muddy Waters?
I do.
My dad liked him a lot.
That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Not my type of music, but anyway.
Sounds bluesy.
It is, I think. Muddy Waters distracted me.
Wow, Christian. You only hung on to something I was repeating for 30 straight seconds. I'm surprised you didn't hear the other 5 seconds.
I know. I'm a little worried. I'm like, there was something in there I needed to hear.
The progression of AI.
Okay. back to that.
Is it because they want to push this so that when this stuff does start getting leaked, they can easily just be like, nope, that's made up, that's generated, that's AI art, you losers, that's not real?
Weren't you recently talking about how things are sensationalized?
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of the concerns with it. There are concerns with AI, but I think most of that is sensationalization.
No, unfortunately with that one, I will say this. I need to send you a video of this presentation by a couple of top industry folks, right? Talking about the dangers of AI.
No, I agree. There are many dangers.
It's a lot worse than even we could possibly imagine. Like it's
I don't know if it's worse than I can imagine.
Shit, man.
I've imagined dystopian for.
Did you know? And this, I'm going to take a very small, very brief tangent out of this. That it is possible via AI for hackers to create a camera
to see through walls
within your fucking Wi-Fi system, within your router, to turn that into a camera that can see through walls and distinct like where people are. Like, and that is nuts, man.
And it's not really seen through walls necessarily, but it's using the Wi-Fi signal to
it's like a bat signal.
See if there's sonar kind of in a way, not really sonar, but similar, where you see the objects in the room. Yeah. So theoretically, you could determine what is a human body,
what's moving, and all
what's
that.
A dog? Is that a fishbowl over there? Where's the TV? What kind of advertisements work best coming from a TV in that spot in the room?
Yeah. So I guess when you word it like that, you're right. It's not creepy at all. Hey, bring on the AI tech with the hackers watching my every move.
Well,
please.
See, I think that's a problem, but also the excitement of AI is part of technology and our way of advancing that way or through. It's just, we always go toward technology.
Isn't that amazing?
But there's also and I was watching a video about it recently. There's a philosophical group that has, I can't remember what they called it, but it was basically like the people that are, we like technology to the point where it will push us to extinction.
Yeah, no. Oh, literally. Yeah. Scientists I want to say 50 or 60% of folks in that community think that there's at least a 10% chance that AI is going to be the death of humanity. It was a large number of folks were like, oh, there's like a 10% chance that this will lead to our demise.
This is where I'm going to come in as a wet blanket a little bit.
Oh, just right here, not for the rest
I'm going to assume the wet blanket for a second, the warm wet blanket, and say we can't blame it on AI.
Wow.
Humans destroying civilization is a completely human thing.
He did it again, folks.
Unless the aliens come in and destroy us.
He came back. He came back to be the advocate for, once again, another evil thing. But it's fine, guys. It's fine. This isn't the AI episode. We're getting back to the aliens, and we need to do an AI episode for sure. And it's in a chamber somewhere, and it's going to be really hot and juicy, just the way you like it. But this isn't that one.
AI's got really way too many zeros and ones to be hot and juicy. And you really don't want anything hot and juicy near your AI.
It's weird.
This day and age.
It's weird. And maybe our listeners picked up on this when I said that was the end of the AI segment. And then you continued the AI segment. Maybe it was very subtle, but you found a way. Like, we're going to have like a 30-minute clip in this episode of AI talk. And now I'm doing it and I can't get out of it. Good night, folks.
You said hot and juicy.
Yeah. So clearly you're going to continue on.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the alien stuff, shall we?
Yes.
Elevator music.
Do Kratom Warcraft RPH.
Wow.
Do Kratom? I don't know what it is. It's not Joe Rogan. He knows that word. Anyway, my feeling exactly on disclosure. It really needs to be a safe disclosure, assuming this is all real. I would much rather have the deep state find a way to safely come clean to NASA and the academic research without putting national security at risk. This should be about advancing humanity. As much as people shit on Operation Paperclip, it was the right decision, and instead of just punishing the Nazi, we used them to help improve tech. There's a lot.
So we found out what Christian's username is.
Yeah, that is not my feeling. My feeling on that Operation Paperclip is, if I led the government, yes, I would have done it. Is it wrong? On every level. Every level. But, I agree. When you're running the strongest nation in the world, or any nation, you don't get to make decisions on what's good, right. You make decisions. We like to say on what protects your country. We make decisions in those positions on getting reelected or staying in power.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
We like to say that, but we also like to say that I'm going to be a multi-billionaire someday. And let's be honest, that's not even remotely close to happening either. So
I don't know.
No, we distrust for the government. And honestly, Christian, if you really search your heart, you will agree. Don't you think?
I think the government.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here.
I know.
I don't agree with Kratom Warcraft's take on this because you cannot hold certain things from the populace and not expect, like we said earlier, the consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with amnesty.
Yeah, but that just consequence of some sort.
Yeah, that just means you don't go to jail.
Yeah.
Amnesty is, you still have to deal with some consequences at that point.
And that is essential.
And I wouldn't even, like the workers, the people, like a lot of the scientists, they don't need to. I wouldn't care if they got amnesty. It's the people that lied to us.
You love scientists.
Well, I mean, any of the people, whether they're in certain parts of the government, it's the people that made the decisions to lie and mislead us. And that's when you're using tax dollars, they're kind of...
That's frowned upon.
Yeah. It's not frowned upon from those people.
Well, sure. Yeah, they're the ones perpetrating it.
That actually pay taxes or are forced to pay taxes at the levels we are. That's a problem.
Forced indeed.
At the levels we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Friday night arcade. It may not be that easy if people were murdered to keep the secret. Also, potentially trillions of dollars on the line. Imagine if you were the aerospace company that went out of business because the other guys had alien tech they've been back engineering for decades. How many ill-gotten dollars have been gained from insider trading and the like based on information not everyone had? SEC violations out the ass. It's a very nuanced thing if this is all true. These are the type of things that kind of drew me to this subject.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think it's necessary. It's kind of related to what we talk about, but a little different. But really thinking deep, we're all like, yeah, tell us what you have. But there's consequences to that too. And they're not always going to be good things. And then when this person brings in insider trading, which we know happens, we saw it at the beginning of the pandemic. There were some politicians that all of a sudden made these brilliant trades.
Just brilliant. Just right out. They woke up one morning, they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's time for me to buy this.
And then we find out, they just happened to be in these, in these meetings with the government.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And then they were allowed to go out and trade on that, which would be fine if we were allowed to, if we had that information.
But then it wouldn't be such a hot pick if everyone was doing it.
Exactly. ZZUL. I don't know how to say it. So it's ZZYUL.
Cool.
Technology and science advance in baby steps with clear connection to already well-known science and tech. We didn't go from the 70s corded phones to iPhone 12 in 1 year.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty close. The science that makes our cutting-edge tech possible is due to an insane numbers of continuous studies and experiments that slowly unlock the secrets of our reality. Once a new secret is unlocked, it's thrown in a textbook or peer-reviewed journal or PhD dissertation, so everyone else, not everybody else reads any of that crap, so everyone else in that field can use the new knowledge to adapt what they are working on. Every piece of tech we have can be traced back to the scientific theories and that God damn it. Sometimes it's just best to stop because you keep
keep trying to push it. You're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can read.
Yeah. Every piece of tech we have can be traced back to the scientific theories that let R&D teams know it could work, and even farther back to the scientists and mathematicians that came up with those scientific theories. Obviously, he works for the government.
Yeah, honestly,
I think the government, because that's some of these comments got me because they were some people were really skeptical, some people were thoroughly into the believing, but it was
classic. Yeah,
there were a lot of good questions in here. This guy, I think, even if we did recover stuff, all this science he talks about was used on it, and the way it would be back engineered would be to use the science and mathematics we've learned before that. But this is kind of obscuring that fact that it could be something new and revolutionary that the government, not just our government, but supposedly governments of the world have.
World government.
Yeah.
One world government.
Not yet. Depending on which government found it. I mean, maybe when it comes to these type of things, maybe it is one world government. Maybe they're all hiding it. together. I mean, obviously they have to be.
Yeah.
Or maybe the ones that don't want to hide it anymore become
Obsolete.
countries that we've eliminated or other countries have eliminated.
Well, isn't that sweet?
Spats McGee.
Old Tits McGee.
Yes, when we talk about disclosure, he says, absolutely not. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Wow.
George Bush all of a sudden. What we need are cryptocurrency bounties to come forward. Someone needs to set up a Bitcoin address. Everyone throwing the money goes to whomever proves it. From a game theoretic perspective, we need to make collaboration with the conspiracy increasingly difficult and betrayal increasingly attractive.
I mean, hot take, sure, but also not a terrible idea.
No.
Like, I don't think that's a terrible. Just try to bribe someone out. Be like, hey, we got 25 Bitcoin ready for you right here.
Yep.
Dive in, friend. Share the secrets. But then what you risk is someone claiming to come forward with that and not actually having anything, just making some elaborate story up for some good old Satoshis.
If you're going to do that, you have to have a group of people that decide what constitutes proof.
Wow.
And
that could go either way, but yeah.
And it's not going to be blurry pictures or distant lights or a couple of...
It's going to be sexy. It's got to be sexy alien stuff.
Yeah, it's not even going to be the videos that the Navy released of strange things flying in weird ways in the sky. It
Incredibly
has to
fast.
it has to be something touchable and provable and something you can study.
Tangible is the word you're looking for, I believe.
Exactly. Something that like a scientist from wherever that is not involved when this kind of studies could still study it.
And verify.
And it can be peer reviewed.
That's a lot of folks you got to get together in a room. My man, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
No.
Again, I think it's a theory that is surprisingly, it makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's doable if everyone wanted to chip into that. But you'd also have like everyone in the world trying to scam whoever's running that wallet address out of all that money, because that total would get up there.
Well, and the people... They would have to be something like the people that donate would have to kind of come up with a board.
Yeah.
And also places, everything would have to be completely public.
Mm. Well, you're already dealing with blockchain technology, so it would be, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd have to like record everything from the beginning of the process to the end of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it would still be doubted.
It's an interesting theory. Whether or not it can be pulled off is entirely different discussion.
Here's one. It's a little bit lengthy from Delusional Highs.
My favorite.
Yeah. Depends on how much will be declassified to the American public. If they committed treason, they did so to the entire nation, not just politicians. Of course, the politicians were involved. I personally don't care about the technical details of the craft, their makeup, etc., and the progress of the reverse engineering efforts, because I wouldn't be able to understand it anyway, and because I respect keeping it a state secret for national security reasons. I just want photos and videos of the crafts, a little about how the program engineers and scientists think they operate, and I want to know about the extraterrestrial things.
Beings?
That's the word. I forgot it for a minute.
Oh.
A few photos and maybe a video. How many we've been in contact with, if we've communicated with them, and if so, how? We've talked about that on previous episodes.
We have.
What is it? Serpo?
Yes, indeed.
Was one of them.
It's a pretty wild episode if you haven't heard it.
Yeah. What we said to them and what they generally want with us or have said back to us. Basically, I want my curiosity scratched. Then I'd be okay with calling it even personally, which I think is fair. You know, that's unfair is a pretty simple word, but I think it describes pretty well the emotion the rest of the world that has been kept in the dark for so long feels with the fact that we've pondered since we first looked toward the stars and even created religions, they're saying, not mine, around the question of...
Yeah. You believe entirely differently than that.
I do, actually, on that one. Around the question of, are we alone? And if false, the fact that some humans have known the answer to that question for decades, and not only that, but perhaps even have had the audacity to represent and speak for the entire human race to them.
The audacity.
Yeah. While at the same time lied to the public about their existence and successfully stamped us believers as nutty is truly and utterly unfair and immoral. It could have been a gathering point for humanity, and if acknowledged and given the option for anybody to study, instead of just a small, tight-knit group of people, could have perhaps skyrocketed our knowledge. Could have perhaps skyrocketed
knowledge.
Yeah, get the spit out of my mouth. Could have perhaps skyrocketed our knowledge of science and the most fundamental questions of our existence to incredible heights, which could in turn help end starvation, disease, and maybe even wars. In that sense, it is treason against not just nation, but against humanity as a whole.
But what about them profits, baby? What about them profits? Those dollar bills, y'all.
Oh my gosh. You're going back to the 80s again. 4-year day wrap.
For my day wrap.
I mean, this person's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, what if we could have cured disease and famine?
You're assuming that stuff's not already cured, that there's not already a cure for various ailments that people have because it's such just a big fat bag of money every week that they get, you know?
What if that's the whole plan is depopulation?
I mean, you're starting to think a little more like some of the listeners, Christian, and that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, there is a problem.
Everybody on 3. Bill Gates sucks. 1, 2, 3. Nobody? All right. Well,
I like my technology.
I know you do. You're part of the problem, Christian. But as long as you carry this podcast with you and our overlords don't smite me down.
That's what I'm here for, is to keep the overlords calm.
That's actually surprisingly checks out a lot more than you'd think.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine
all the people. No, it's fine.
I mean, kind of. Famine and disease being gone, no need for war.
Yeah.
We have a serious overpopulation problem all of a
that's what
sudden.
Bill Gates keeps telling us, huh?
And luckily, in this day and age, we have a problem with having enough babies to keep our workforce viable in the future, in the next 100 years, which, taking us back to AI, explains the quick AI push without looking at the consequences, because when we don't have enough people to do certain jobs, we're going to have the computer do it.
He did it again, folks.
Yeah.
He did it again.
What did I do?
You brought it back. You brought it back. I thought we were done with that.
No,
you brought it back. It's fine.
I think it's all part of the same conspiracy.
Or plan, some might say.
It might not be a plan, but it's something people see coming and they're like, we can work this to our advantage, like they always do.
Let me ask you this. Would you say it may not be a plan, but it may be a strategy?
You can't let a good, what is it?
Strategy go to waste.
It's disaster or crisis.
You
can't let a good crisis go to waste.
That's true.
So
again, back to the prophets and the dollar bill signs.
Yep.
Dollar bill signs, the dollar signs.
You said dollar bills. You know, when I hear that, I think of the Richie Rich dog.
That's hilarious.
Dollar.
Well, cool.
Another 80s cartoon that was pretty popular. It explained everything about those 80 years and money.
Those 80 years and money.
Oh, and funny thing, the mention of 80 years in this one from Sig Int Samurai 666.
Shut her down.
I think
we found him.
Isn't
the devil.
Sig Int Signal Intelligence?
I don't know.
Yes, the decision to keep UAP, UFO, NHI secret was made 80 years ago by the men who are long dead. That conspiracy has been handed down through several generations and landed in the hands of those who are now involved. Many of them wear uniforms and have careers that would end abruptly and ignominiously if they simply decided to violate their security clearances by revealing classified information. I suspect few of them had any idea what they were about to read in on prior to being read in on it. And once they would have been faced with the choice of ruining all that they had worked for their entire careers and facing prosecution and persecution, or honoring the oaths they swore to serve.
The oaths? Honoring the oaths that they serve?
Or honoring the oaths they swore to their country.
Oh, the oaths.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not excusing them, but they were in a uniquely unenviable position that applies only to secret keepers. We should absolutely prosecute anyone who participated in or ordered violence, intimidation, retaliation, and killings.
Well,
I don't think you should. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
You summed it up for you. Very nice.
Yes. We'll go one last one with UFO bait throwaway.
Someone with some big secrets.
Yes.
Dropping the knowledge.
Would you allow criminals to keep acting above the law, keep committing crimes against humanity, with the premise that they can do whatever they want and get away with it? This includes advanced tech, fast travel, infinite energy, big influence in mainstream tech. What fundamental basis would society rely upon if they see for the millionth time people in power can get away with committing serious crimes without any form of repercussion? With this sensitive topic being exposed and inflation at an all-time high, people not being happy about their living standards, I don't think this will end well for anyone if this is not addressed appropriately. I'm not saying we should commit payback or revenge, but understand that plenty of people have suffered for this truth, and I think a lot of them can never be compensated fully. The least of what we can do as a society is keep the ones accountable for committing these crimes against humanity in some shape or form. Taking the tech away from them should be a healthy start, if that's even possible at this point.
Interesting.
Interesting take. I don't think it is feasible.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem here. Sorry, I turned away from the mic.
That is the problem here. You turning away from the mic.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to get this information if you're going to put these people in jail.
Yeah, exactly.
It's never going to come out. If you can't find a way to release the information to the public in a safe way without destroying the economy, without destroying the careers of these people that have been keeping these secrets.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to get it because they're too powerful. They have too much money. You know, they're too well connected to governments all over the world. We're not getting it if we're going to prosecute them. Yes, sure. Maybe we have to throw some to the wolves that are responsible for murder and torture and
the
stuff.
big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably even a lot of them will get away with it.
Yeah.
You know,
I would have a very short list of people that I would want behind bars for it. Or I'm sorry, you can't say that on YouTube. Or ouchied. Get ouchied.
I'm not okay with any kind of
ouchies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christian's not a big fan of ouchies.
You know, if they need to be prosecuted, they need to be prosecuted. But that's funny. I think we just found a new word.
Yeah. Ouchies.
Ouchies works perfect.
Yeah. Now we're a children's show. Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing?
It happens when you spend a lot of time with the baby.
That is true. And I spend a lot of time with you, Christian.
And same to you.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it goes both ways.
Yeah. So it made me really think about disclosure in a different way just by coming across that one, the initial Reddit post. And it made me really think about all the problems that it has attached to it. And I'm not sure what I'd do. I'm open to the truth coming out. And sometimes you got to let certain people walk free till they get the truth out.
And in this case, it's the devil.
It could be. Of course, the devil's in the details. And we don't have any details because
we're closing our chocolate factories forever.
No.
Damn it.
No. Because they won't tell us what is going on. If nothing is really going on, prove it to us.
Yeah, but in this situation, who is they?
I think the government.
Okay, that clears it up.
Yeah. So,
well,
prove it one way or another.
Yeah.
And stop lying to us.
Yeah, prove it. We're all bullies now.
You know, because if there's nothing there, they should conceivably be able to prove it. Will it prove it to everybody? No, because this stuff's fun. It's
so much fun.
You don't want to give it up easily. I mean, it's fun to talk about.
We all love pulling our hair out over how much fun we're having on this topic constantly.
I don't pull my hair out, but I've been into this topic since I was a child.
Wow, that's a long time ago, Christian.
Yeah, just a few years, man.
Just a few 100 years.
87 years.
It's been, anyway.
You know what?
Titanic
I'm
reference.
Not that old. I'm not old at all. I don't act old. Sometimes a lot of times I act younger than you.
I know. Hey, look, I'm an old soul. You will have no problem getting me to admit that. I like to go to bed at 8:30 at night, and I like to wake up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning so I can be productive with my life as it falls apart, and that's fine.
My sleep schedule is a little bit more like Atlas.
No, your sleep schedule is a little more like homeless bums under the overpass.
It is not. Just because you're going to pick on me because I was late once in the last year or so. You know what, folks? We don't have the energy for it. He's been late 2 weeks in a row, as far as you're concerned. You have our opinions on this stuff. What's your take? We want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think amnesty is good in return for disclosure on these heinous acts? And some of them are heinous.
They are very heinous.
I think it was it Richard Doty and what he did to that one guy that the guy ended up killing himself.
Yeah, that one guy.
I can't remember the name. We've talked about him.
We have talked about him.
But I mean, that's the type of stuff that has happened to a lot of people.
That is very true.
So what are your limits on Amnesty? Amnesty, tell us about it.
That's right. You can send those opinions to us directly. I don't know why you'd want to do that. You can email your thoughts or
Telephone
if you have
them
stories, yeah, by all means. The email is thegang@thefreakydeaky.com. Open to all your stories, paranormal, or just opinions on the show, whatever you want to do. Hit us up. We love hearing from you guys. You can give us a call at 801-997-0051 and leave us a brief voicemail of your thoughts on this subject.
You know, I have another idea. If they don't want to leave us a voicemail,
Carrier pigeon.
That
is an option.
They can hit their voice recorder on their phone and just send that to our email.
Yeah, guys, a lot of really easy stuff for you to figure out. I don't know why Christian's over here doing it for you, but...
Yeah, I'm the old guy.
Yeah, he's the old guy. He shouldn't be doing this. He should be grabbing lint-covered butterscotches out of his pocket.
And I should be yelling, Scott, why isn't my TV working?
Exactly. So,
Like
anyway,
my dad.
The end. It's the end, guys. Find us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe. You know the drill, guys. I say it every damn week. In the meantime, be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you're enjoying the show. It is the easiest way that you can help us grow this thing out, and it really does mean the world to us. We love hearing from you guys, and we're going to be right back here next week with another episode of the Frinkity Dinkity. That's all, folks.
Shoes.
I'm closing my chocolate factory forever. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The end.